Joining me live in the studio is Liberal frontbencher, the Shadow Education Minister, Julian Leeser. Thanks for your time. I want to start on the conflict in the Middle East. I know that you've got a very large expat community from Iran, a Persian community, in your electorate in Sydney.
It's the fourth largest in the country.
So you've got thousands of expats. Are they welcoming the outcome in Iran with that tyrant now gone?
They're dancing in the streets at the idea that the Ayatollah is gone and that several of his lieutenants have been taken out and that the structure of the terror state that is Iran has been so strongly degraded. Getting rid of the Ayatollah was good for Australia, it was good for the Iranian people. It was a good day all around for anyone who believes in freedom, democracy and the rule of law. This is a person who committed vile human rights abuses at home, 30,000 people killed in recent months, and not just murders. They would take women's bodies, kill them and then rip their wombs out of their bodies. Dreadful human rights abuser and, of course, an exporter of terror around the world, particularly in the region, interfering with countries like Israel, like Lebanon and Syria, and, of course, the Iranian regime through the IRGC is responsible for terrorist attacks on our own shore. Yeah,
indeed. And when you look at when you mention the rule of law, though, how do you respond to the criticism levelled by the Greens, some international leaders as well, that this was in breach of international law, the move by Israel and the US?
Well, look, international law is a hotly contested and debated topic, and this is a topic that we've debated for years. But the principal point here is one of the world's greatest human rights abusers is gone. And that's a day that is good for the world.
Yeah, and also a regime that has not really ever honoured international law at any point. They've operated in grey zone conflict, sponsoring proxies, terrorists. I mean, so the idea that then those getting rid of that tyrant, that regime, should be held to a higher standard. What do you say to that?
Well, I just say that the principle is clear here, that this is a regime that committed some of the worst human rights abuses on its own citizens, disrupted a whole region of the world in the Middle East. And we saw that in the indiscriminate rocket fire that it has engaged in since the American and Israeli actions have occurred. We've seen it in the terrorist acts that occurred in our own country. The fact that the Ayatollah is gone is good for the world.
I want to ask you about on a very different matter, the ABS data that's been released today on the performance of our school children. Yeah. A very concerning disparity between the performance and the school retention rates of boys, much less than what we're seeing for girls. What needs to happen?
There's an 8-point difference, Kieran, in the retention rates of boys and girls. We've been seeing this occur for quite some time now. And when you look at this on top of the NAPLAN data, which reveals that boys' performance on every measure other than numeracy from year 3, there is a significant gap between boys and girls.
Why is that?
By the time you get to year 9, that gap is the equivalent to 2 years of school education. We've done wonders in relation to the performance of our girls, and that should be a cause of celebration. But this isn't a zero-sum game. And it's the reason why I've called on Jason Clare to have an inquiry into boys' education. We need to diagnose the problem and get the best evidence.
Do you have a sense of why this is happening?
I think it's probably that boys are responding differently to the education system to girls, but we need to really get under the bonnet and have a look at this, because I think we need to ensure that our boys are performing just as well as our girls.
Well, that's a massive gap by the time you get to year 9, isn't it?
It is a massive gap, and when you put that together with the retention rates, what you're seeing in the higher education system is that today there are 10,000 fewer boys going to university than there were a decade ago, even though the population has increased by 3.4 million over that time. So there's more people, but fewer boys going to university, fewer boys going on to study after their school. So we need to look at this. And Jason and I have been negotiating some terms of reference. I very much hope he calls the inquiry. And today's statistics hopefully will be a prod along to actually bring that inquiry.
And what sort of trends have you seen elsewhere, like in terms of non-government schools? Has there been a continued shift in that direction?
There has been. Since 2021, we've seen a 15-point increase in the number of parents choosing independent schools. There's now around 40% of Australians are educated in the non-government sector. I'm for an education system that has great government schools, great Catholic schools and great independent schools. And what we want to do is not tell parents how to run their family, not tell parents what the right choice for their children is, but to support whatever choice that they make that is right for their families. That's what these statistics indicate, that parents are sacrificing to make the choice to send their kids to non-government schools.
Shadow Education Minister Julian Leeser, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Kieran.
Santos Chief Executive Kevin Gallagher says